So yeah, I put together this little banner. I was tweeting these instructions, trying to lure people into my workshop. Basically, these instructions would allow you to do some CPU mining on Testnet in the pool that my team is maintaining, a Stratum V2 pool. But there's a twist, because if you follow these steps, sure, you're going to be hashing, but you should ask yourself, like, what are those, where are those templates coming from? And if I'm contributing hash power, if I'm contributing proof of work, why don't I have a say into which transactions are going to go into the block? So yeah, that's the introduction for this talk/workshop of Stratum V2. Thanks to Spyro for the grant. plebhash. And the slides are available on GitHub. I'm hosting them live too. We're going to do some hands-on steps. So if you guys want to follow it, I'd suggest that you type this into your browser. So you have the slides loaded on your browser. We also have a little Wi-Fi hotspot so that we can mine together on the same environment. I have a Signet running on my machine, and hopefully, yeah, we can join forces and do some CPU mining together and see how this is different from what's happening in the industry nowadays. So yeah, I prepared a little bit of a talk before the hands-on part, and it should be scary. I want it to be very alarmist, and so yeah, DEF CON. If you're following this profile, maybe you've seen this 0xB10C. There's also some other Twitter profiles doing some on-chain analysis. But basically, we're slowly realizing that everyone's mining on the same template, which means whatever algorithm is being used to choose which transactions go into Bitcoin blocks, or how is Bitcoin block space utilized, there's one entity doing that. There's no centralization in this decision-making process. And that should be scary. That is very scary. Most machines in the market are Antminers. They're manufactured by Bitmain. It's a Chinese company. And I don't have any insider knowledge, but I've heard rumors that before the machines actually hit the market, they've been mining for months, if not years, on Netpool, which is Bitmain's pool. So pretty much every machine in the industry is secondhand hardware from the biggest pool there is right now. And all the medium-sized pools, they need to attract miners. They need to give assurances to the miners. So they're all adopting FBPS, which takes all the risk away from the miners. The miners get paid no matter what. So the miners can pay the bills, and it's all good for them. But it puts the risk on the side of the pool. And if the pool doesn't have a very deep balance sheet, There's going to be rainy, unlucky days where they don't really find enough blocks and they need to pay the miners. So they resort to somebody, and this somebody is Bitmain. So there's a big pyramid of proxy pools, like most pools, at least in this list. They're just proxies for Npool. And Npool is dictating the templates. So on this pyramid scheme here, we have a bunch of slaves on the top of the pyramid, and we have one big pharaoh dictating what happens on Bitcoin block space from China. And this means there is a pattern forming on Bitcoin mining, which is leading to block space monopolization. And we're boarding frogs because this has deep implications into the censorship resistance aspect of the protocol. So, yeah, I'm here to talk about Stratum V2. And you might think I'm going to sell it as a cure-all for all the problems in the industry. Unfortunately, it is not. It's not a silver bullet. FPPS, still cancer. Bitmain still turning into a behemoth. Stratum V2 is not really going to solve that. But at least they shouldn't be able to monopolize block space. Also, I think this is a cautionary tale. This thesis by Major Jason P. Lowry, hash power is kind of a weapon. And there's even geopolitical implications for this. And if we don't wake up, this will become Bitcoin. So, yeah, miners should wake up and try to make some efforts to start proposing templates and not just mining whatever the pool tells them to do. So, yeah, a little bit of history. Why do we mine on pools? There's variance, there's luck. So miners need to pay the bills, so they pool their hash rate together. Back in 2010, this already started happening. So they introduced get work JSON RPC. Very limited. You can only mine on nonce and timestamp. As soon as GPUs, ASICs started hitting the market, the search space with the nonce, a 32-bit search space for specialized hardware, like, it goes away in a second. So they needed to introduce the notion of extra nonce that came with get block template 2012. But kind of in parallel, Slush also introduced Stratum, and that was introduced in the Slush pool, which was the first actual pool. So the industry kind of ossified around Stratum. Get block template didn't really get a lot of traction. But the problem is Stratum still has many limitations. Aside from template centralization, which is the main problem we're facing nowadays, but also it's a bunch of JSON RPC messages over TCP that is very verbose, that is very inefficient, so not ideal. It lacks end-to-end encryption, so if you're listening to the connection, if you can do a middleman attack and steal hash rate from a miner, just send it to the pool as if it was yours. This has been demonstrated on like Black Hat conferences. And yeah, again, centralization risks. So 2020, working group, some people from Brains, formerly known as Slush, together with Matt Corello, they proposed a set of specifications for a new version of Stratum that introduced some new features: authentication, encryption, binary framing to optimize for bandwidth consumption, and most importantly, decentralization of transaction selection. So their specs can be read at this URL. It can be improved. The actual source is on this GitHub repo. And yeah, there's a reference implementation, which is the project I'm a contributor to. It's a Rust code base. It's a bunch of grantees from different entities working with Brains, working with Galaxy, some other industry players, putting together this code base that's meant for the community to use and for the community to start adopting on the mining industry, to start decentralizing template creation. So some conceptual foundation on Stratum V2. We have the notion of roles, right? And it's probably the main conceptual entity. You're always thinking in terms of roles for Stratum V2. They're involved in data flow, can be labeled as downstream or upstream in relationship to each other. So yeah, the first role that we have on Stratum V2, the mining device, right? It's a machine responsible for hashing. It's usually an ASIC plus a control board in most production scenarios, but can also be a CPU, some testing and development scenarios. And it is usually labeled as the most downstream role of all. We have the role of the pool, which is a hash rate consumer. And it is usually the most upstream role. A proxy is an intermediary between mining devices and the pool. It receives mining requests and aggregates the hash rate from multiple machines and forwards it to the pool. So proxies are useful in big mining farms. You don't want to set every machine connected straight to the pool. You're going to be DDoSing the pool if you do that. You should deploy proxies on your infrastructure, and the proxies will set some kind of difficulty adjustment so that it only sends shares upstream every once in a while, an optimized way, so that bandwidth consumption is optimized and the pool doesn't kick you out for spam. Translator proxy helps adoption. It's just a proxy, but it expects Stratum V1 connections. So you can connect legacy firmware machines to a translation proxy. It's going to flow upstream as Stratum V2 data, and you can still participate in template creation, or the job declaration protocol, as we call it. And so yeah, translator proxy. It's just a flavor of a proxy, to be honest. It does the same, perform the same roles, the same functionality as a regular proxy. Template provider is a Bitcoin node. And as the name says, it is responsible for the creation of block templates. So it taps into the mempool, and this is where the miner or the pool get to apply some rules on how they want to create their blocks. Right now we have a fork being maintained by core developer Shores. And so yeah, now these two roles, job declarator server and client, they are the parts of the job declaration protocol. So, and this is where miner and pool are negotiating the templates. So the pool runs a server, miner runs a client, and they'll come to a sort of an agreement of like, hey, yeah, these are the rules. Like the pool is telling up front, hey, these are the rules that we're putting together in our blocks. Are you okay with that? And the miner will be like, yeah, sure. And then the miner starts hashing. And if the pool kind of like doesn't go through with the deal and starts rejecting shares that the miner was like, hey, thought we agreed on this. The job declarator client will have ideally other pools set as fallback, and also solo mining set as fallback. So that this is where we're changing the dynamic. We're shifting power away from the pool as a unilateral decision. It's still negotiation. The miner doesn't get to do whatever they want. But if their shares are rejected for some reason, they're going to know right away, and they're going to have options. So we're kind of like making the hash rate marketplace more free in a way. And hopefully this helps as an incentive for miners to start working on their own templates. So yeah, Stratum reference implementation. It's a Rust code base. I've been working on it since December, and we just hit a version 1 release. We would like to get as much feedback as possible from the community, adoption from miners, from pools, and yeah, this is where it lives. So we are, and yeah, and there's demand pool, and they're mining. I don't know if they're doing template job negotiation on mainnet yet. On testnet for sure. Yeah, demand is kind of like they're the trailblazers on the Stratum V2 front. Brains, I also think they're implementing this. Ocean is emulating this, but not really with Stratum V2 yet. It's kind of like, I hope they start doing it with our code base eventually. So yeah, with SRI you can do a few different possible configurations, right? You can sort of put together those roles that I was talking about. You can assemble them in different ways to cater for different needs. So we're labeling them with letters to try to categorize each use case. So configuration A. In configuration A, we are doing job declaration. So the miner reserves the right here to choose what goes into the block. But we're assuming mining devices are very state-of-the-art. They already speak Stratum V2. So just deploy a regular proxy, and yeah, you participate in the job declaration protocol. Configuration B, we're assuming the miner is all right with their boiling frog situation, and they're all right with Bitmain telling them what to do. So they're not participating in job declaration, and they just deploy the proxy to aggregate their hash rate, send it towards the pool. Configuration B we're assuming Stratum V2 firmware. And then configuration C, we assume Stratum V1 firmware. So just use a translator proxy instead. But yeah, again, not ideal. You can do this. If you got to pay the bills, you got to pay the bills. But come on, let's not let Bitcoin go down that route. Finally, configuration D. There is job declaration, but Stratum V1 firmware. So we're using translator proxy. So this is the most popular testing setup that we have in our tutorials, in our documentation. Everyone has SV1 firmware. So, and we want people to try out the job declaration protocol. So, hands-on, this is where who wants to participate, who wants to mine. You do? We need at least, okay, I have a few people. Oh, you need a computer. Yeah. I can explain more or less. Like I have a Signet that I'm running on my machine. I deployed a hotspot. Hopefully you don't need to hop into the Wi-Fi just yet. But yeah, I'm running a Signet here, and I want people to assemble in pairs, and one will be the pool, the other will be the miner. The miner will do some CPU mining, and we're going to look at it on the Block Explorer. We're going to look at the Coinbases, see who mined what, to a hash rate, war, and yeah. So I would invite you all to type this into your browser, because it'll just help if you could copy paste the commands into your own machine instead of typing everything. It's kind of error prone. They're not going to be able to access the network. So yeah, the live stream folks can still follow along and try to understand what's going on from a conceptual perspective. But yeah, the Signet we're mining on is only available on the Wi-Fi that we have on this room. And I'm going to give the Wi-Fi instructions in a slide later on. So I've said this already. Prerequisites. You're going to be told to clone our repo and check out the BTC++ workshop. It's a Rust code base, so you got to have Rust available. If you have Nix, you can just drop a Nix shell inside the Stratum repository. It should get all the dependencies sorted out for you. We're also going to need to get a release from Shores, Bitcoin Core fork. You can grab a release from this release page. There's some binaries there. Not sure why this is not loading. Which Wi-Fi am I on? Oops. I just realized I'm not on the right Wi-Fi. Yep. So Yeah, you can get some binaries from source GitHub, or if you're running Nix on Linux, you can give this a try. This is Nix repo that I maintain with a bunch of Bitcoin Core flavors, and I made one for this tutorial. So, but it's going to be a local build, so kind of takes some time. If you can, just grab a binary here. It should be better. And then, yeah, connect to the workshop Wi-Fi. Do you have a browser open? Type in 75.119.150.111 port 1337. HTML SV2 workshop. Yeah. Did you get it? This, I mean, if you just type the IP address and the port, you should reach the HTTP server already. But yeah, I mean, if you want to follow along and you're falling behind, please let me know, because I'm kind of just like, I have a script. Hopefully all this information will make sense and help you follow along. But if it's not making any sense to you, please let me know. I'm also not sure where to focus now. So you guys, please let me know if you were able to download the Source fork. Yeah, it's, well, Core is big, right? Are you cloning Stratum? Okay. While you guys clone, you should be downloading Core too. Kind of parallelize things. Yeah. If you go to slide 39, there's links there and different routes you can go down. I did stumble into an issue running a binary on my Mac, which is also listed on the slide. Something about signatures on the binary. Say that again? the Bitcoin Core binary. I just downloaded it from the GitHub release and then decompress the tarball. Then it's like it is. I can show you. Oh, damn it. I lost the connection. Well, this is tarball, right? So T. Sorry? No, not yet. Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, well, this fork that we're using opens its own Stratum V2 port and it's doing its own customizations. And we only have this on a Bitcoin Core fork, right? So we would need somebody to take these changes, apply to Knots. So then Knots could be a template provider. Well, yeah, I mean, this is a Rust code base. Luke's not a fan of Rust for like, and Ocean, I don't know where they're at in terms of adopting Stratum V2. They say it's in their roadmap. Probably, I guess you can take a patch from Shore's repo and apply it to Knots. Is anyone connected to the workshop Wi-Fi already? Were you able to open mempool? It did not work? Ah, okay. Yeah, I mean, I also don't know how much data this would consume from my. So when you finish downloading the template provider, slide 41, setting an alias. It's basically like, since I gave different routes to get this, I think it makes sense to unify all of them into the same command. So if you're using the Nix Bitcoin Core archive, you should set this alias. If you just downloaded the binary, you should use this alias. And yeah, whenever you see TP, we're just calling the Bitcoin D binary. And this is the configuration. I also kind of standardized a data dir here on, hopefully in your home. And this is how the configuration file should look like. I think I have the wrong IP address here. doesn't matter. Like, maybe you could break something when you're copy pasting the commands. Because I put a like share of variables. Okay. Yeah. So if you already have the template provider binary available, if you can create this configuration file, please try to start it, and that's going to be with this command. Hopefully, you're going to sync to my Genesis node that's running on my machine here. Hopefully, you see 98 blocks on your node. I'm going to copy it over to the same directory where I'm serving the HTML files. Yes. Yes. Yep. Huh? Are you on the Stratum root? Now you should go into roles. Yeah, and then no, which JD server and pool. Those are the ones that you care about. But I also made them. The binaries are available on my little server. CD pool or yeah, cargo build. Which branch are you on, by the way? Did you check out the? Okay, you're on the right branch. You can you can go on building. Yeah, I mean, I'm not used to shallow clones. I've never done it before. The branch exists. It's like maybe try to clone it again. It's gonna take a while, but yeah. Huh? Yeah. Open the browser and where's the browser? HTML. It's not there. Shit. Or go back up. We're running out of time. Okay. Well, guys, no time left. Sorry. We can finish this outside if you guys want to really go all the way through. Yeah, thanks a lot for everyone.